Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Jauntee on their latest LP.
All right, so the album came out. I feel like you guys, the production value on it, fantastic. I feel
Thank
like
you.
it's gone leaps and bounds. You want to talk about just why don't we start with how you approached going into the studio on this one?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Mainly the biggest reason I think why that happened is because we did all of the tracking in house. So we did the drums kind of with the live band with all the amps like in separate rooms, kind of like trying to keep audio separation going on. Um, and we didn't know a whole ton about miking drums, so it was kind of like we test some sounds and then be like, oh, that sounds kind of weird, adjust something. And then we ended up not using any of the instruments that were recorded, maybe like very short pieces of bass or something like that. So we overdubbed pretty much everything. Tyler did stuff at his house. We found like a room with a grand piano that we went in and mic'd it up ourselves and recorded that. Yeah, I did all the overdubs like in this room, right, right where I'm sitting, basically. And then yeah, John came over, and then we did vocals mostly at Tyler's house, a little bit here in that closet right there, and then so because of that, we didn't feel rushed into like being like that's good enough kind of thing, and
Uh-huh.
it's a double-edged sword because it it can make you kind of want to be a perfectionist, and at a certain point, you have to be like, all right, this is done. But as far as like guitar overdubs, for example, speaking for myself, I think I only did one overdub on either of our other two albums, and definitely not the live album. So I think it was on Excelsior, yeah, on good old or no Valley Girl. I did like a overdub solo at the end, like as an afterthought, because we had spent 2 days tracking, and that was like all of our budgets, so we didn't really have time. Um, and then so the album was better just from the basic tracking perspective because of that. And then we pretty much tried to keep all of our things super clean when we were like not very colored going into our recording software. And then we took it to a place, Violet Recording, in Boulder, Colorado, that we kind of ran everything. We had spliced up everything and lined everything how we wanted it, that kind of stuff. And then we ran it kind of all separately through his huge SSL mixing board and a bunch of really nice compressors and stuff like that. Did some cool effecty stuff. And then Chris, the guy that like is the main engineer there, he was really cool. He let us do all of like the mixing ourselves, basically, as far as like moving the knobs. He'd explain how to do stuff and show us the ropes, and it wouldn't have happened without him, that's for sure. But it was cool that he let us get really hands on, and um, and then he also mastered it for us too. He has just some amazing gear there. So basically, just a result of like having more time and then really being hands on in the process, I think helped kind of
Right.
get closer to what we were hearing in our head or whatever.
There you go. Very nice. So all right, let's get into this. The opening track, you have what's that called? Everything.
Yes,
And gets a whole Beatles vibe to it.
for
Very
sure.
Beatlesque. Then the Hound tune has the country kind of thing. The
Yeah.
one after it, the Peepin', has
Oh yes,
for lack of a better
Peepin'
term,
Stino.
right, a fishy thing almost to it with the changes in it.
Right, right.
As a guitarist, you're walking in all these dispersed styles. How do you get your sound, stay true to your sound while contributing to the whole, and also on top of it, trying to, I guess, stay true to the music,
Right.
the genre?
Yeah. One thing, this kind of goes back to what I do kind of day to day. Like I've been fortunate enough to get hired by a lot of different genres around Denver. So a lot of them I wasn't necessarily well versed at. And then it was kind of trial by fire sort of situation. So I think I gained some perspective from doing a lot of different genres like that. Like did some country studio work. I've done a lot of like funk and jazz gigs and some gospel stuff. So, and then the fish DNA is still there for sure. But I'd say the good thing about, jam band music as a genre is that it's kind of like a pool of a lot of genres. So if you go like too authentic, it's almost like you get away from that sound kind of thing of like the rock undertone of all these other genres. And I think it's in the song so much, like that, like kind of blending of styles. And then there's also the level of just, like I said, having the time to really like be like, okay, tonally, like what do I want to go for? Like on Howlin' Hound, for example, I was like, okay, well, I want to get that like kind of telly like spank going on with the double
Twangy,
tracking
yeah.
delay. Yeah, twangy, exactly. Like kind of bendy pedal steel sounding stuff. So I was like, being able to just like approach writing a solo like that helps. And the other thing is that a lot of these songs weren't actually even played ever, or we almost kind of like wrote them as we were recording them. So that also like kind of allowed to be more authentic in certain spots,
I was going to ask that. Now, I would have assumed, since it's been 5 years, these songs would have been around the block a few times.
Right. Yeah. So I think we started recording this like winter of like the first winter pandemic, whatever year that was, 2020 gone into 2021, like right at the end of the year or maybe beginning of the year. And so we had a bunch of songs that we had kind of been writing like from the start of the pandemic, and we were doing a lot of streams at the time. We were like, once we get these polished, maybe we'll do that. And then when we decided to record the album and then actually got those songs in, we were like, well, it would be cool if we performed these live, like once the album came out, if people heard these songs like on the studio version first instead of the live version first. So so that was the plan, and then things took longer than expected. So we ended up writing like we have a pretty good chunk of songs that are far newer. Like we had been playing them for a couple months or even, a year or something, that are like newer than the songs that we wrote for the album kind of thing.
Right. At what point did Regime jump into this equation?
Man, good question. I think we sort of signed with them like right at the beginning of the pandemic, I think, maybe end of 2019. And that was for the management stuff. And then I think just when we were recording the album, our manager was like, hey, they have this other company and, I'll reach out to them about something. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but it's pretty soon after we started recording, I think.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.